everybody. Welcome to Vinyl Fetish. Look who's here. Andi, it's so nice to see you.
Hello.
How have you been?
Oh, so good.
Yeah, really good. I can tell.
It's been a year.
Also, we've been really good to this bottle of Casadores, which tonight's show is sponsored by
Caposado.
the Swallows of Capistrano. You know, when it comes to tequila, we prefer the big jugs. So we are doing our series. So hey everybody, I'm so happy to be here with my fabulous wife because we are continuing our series of 100 albums that matter with a really great record that I think some of you might not have in your collection. And these are albums that you need in your collection. And the album that we're doing this week is my eye out is.
I was just excited about that.
Yeah, tell us.
Norman Fucking Rockwell, Bleeping Rockwell,
Yeah.
as our Google assistant likes to call it. NFR, Lana Del Rey.
Lana Del Rey. It's her 6th album. Came out in the fall of 2019.
Yeah.
And
it's, I mean, I'm so glad you picked this. I am not making you do any of this or say any of this for the record, right?
You turned me on to Lana Del Rey.
Yes, but you kind of took a long time to warm up to her.
I didn't get it. We saw her in 2014. I think it was on the Ultraviolence tour, and there was a lot of like teenage girls with flowers in their hair, and the videos all looked like David Lynch movies. And I just
what's wrong with him?
No, I love him, but I didn't. I think that was the Ultraviolence tour with that great song about the West Coast, but I didn't get it.
The opening act for her show was Father John Misty.
Yeah, before he was Father John.
It was
just like
Joshua Tillman at the time.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the guy up there is making fun of all these chicks with their flowers in their
flower
hair.
headbands. Like all these teenage girls. I was so confused.
And he was making fun of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I've hung in there because you love her. Then this album comes out at the end of 2019. And I would say this is the album that got us through the pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be the thing that we listen to most in 2020 instead of dying.
You wanted to discuss something.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the record. It's a double record, but it's not really a double record. It's less than an hour of music. And I think just now everything just goes on 2 pieces of vinyl. It's just amazing. It's an amazing record. Right, you were just mentioning that some of it remind you of Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Well, I mean, honestly, you know, the reason why I'm into, and I'm so, into other things is because I was into Lana, and she does a good job. If you are this little, you know, you listen to her music, she guides you, and she says, oh, no, you gotta listen to this, you gotta listen to this, and it's, all in her lyrics and in her videos.
She's a gateway drug.
She is. She's cannabis.
Yeah,
apparently.
there is. Yeah, I mean, there's references. I mean, on this record, there's references to the Laurel Canyon scene, the ladies of the canyon. So there's some Joni Mitchell. There's lots of 70s. There's Moog synthesizer. I mean, some of it sounds like Emerson, Lake and Palmer to me. And one of the things I wanted to say before we kind of talk about why this record matters is for people of my generation who think that there aren't any good records coming out, and they're like, where is the blue? Where is the, who's next? Where is that album? This is that album. If you are a fan of classic rock, if you were a 70s child, this record it drips in everything you loved about the 70s, including what the song subject, although it's much more, I mean, I think the opening line on the title track is something like, goddamn man child, you fucked me so good I almost said I love you. That's like the opening line of this. There you go, teenage girls. I mean, it is very pro-woman in a way that some of those records in the 70s were kind of masking a little bit. So one of the reasons I wanted you to talk about it is because you are not, I am of the 70s and you're not. So when you're listening to something that is so evocative of classic rock, I mean, how do you place it?
Yeah, but she isn't from the 70s. I mean, we were going to talk about nostalgia and how she really is so nostalgic for the past, and she puts it all in her music and her videos, and she kind of takes you on I feel like when I listen to her, I'm listening to her in the future, listening back. Like, it's just like such a trip because it's even like the way her videos are filmed, like very dreamlike and
very dreamlike. All done by her sister Chuck Grant. Films those. That's why they.
And like I kind of love that because it, in a way, I think she's saying, now for what you're doing now and life now, we're all gonna be nostalgic for it in like 20 years of like what we were doing now.
Future nostalgia.
Future nostalgia. Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Can I tell you a quick little story? I was on a plane flying to L.A. sitting next to a journalist who was going to interview the great musician Frank Zappa, and he was telling me that Frank Zappa has a theory about nostalgia, because I want to talk a little bit about what nostalgia means with this record. And he said, it used to be parents were nostalgic for their parents' generation, something that they had experienced, and then people started getting nostalgic for their own past. Mm-hmm. And he argued mathematically, this is Frank Zappa, that if you follow that, pretty soon we'll be nostalgic for like last week. Or when we came into here. Remember when we came into here before we were sweating? Oh, those were days. And it's true, there is a lot more, of sort of reminiscent of the recent past, like, the 90s nostalgia that we're in now. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of nostalgia on this record. There's lots of references to the past. She covers Doing Time, the Sublime single from 1997 that was a cover of Gershwin's Summertime. And so it's already, like, recycling the past. And her past records, she's mentioned, like, lines from Walt Whitman and references. There are always these sort of past references. So the question is, part of that is what makes, I think you pointed out, is what makes this so, like, out of time. Is this music of right now? Is it from 1971? Is it music from 30 years ago about 1970? It's,
well, I think that, it's music, and what makes it timeless is that you are asking that question. That you didn't like her, and now I can't fucking get you to stop listening to her.
I cannot stop. And the thing is, she's had a new record since then, Chemtrails Above the Country Club, that came out earlier in 2000. Did you know she has another album coming out this year?
No.
Called Blue Banisters. And she's already got 3 singles out. I'll play them for you later. She's already got 3 songs. She's a very hard-working musician. Yes. In the sense of the way that Joni Mitchell was always at the piano. And part of this, by the way, one of the things I learned tonight is some of this album was recorded at Electric Ladyland Studio in New York, where Hendrix recorded. So
and
more.
Patti Smith.
And Patti Smith.
Okay, can I ask you something though? I want to know, because I know that a lot of like white men watch you, like that they like classic rock, and like, okay, how would you say like your journey to her was? Because you were I feel like you were kind of like sexist towards her at the beginning, because I liked her, and like, what would I know about good music, because I'm not from the past. But so how would you say like you come to like?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I appreciate the way that you see it, and I'll certainly wear that, because I saw what she looked like, right? An attractive woman who sings about sex and things. So I'm in. I love the David Lynch kind of imagery, because those movies are great. But
you didn't like her.
But I didn't really like the records. I liked them a little bit, and it was.
So what changed?
I think she grew as an artist. I think this record is deeper than her previous records, and
it's less produced. So
yeah, there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more. It's more expansive. Some of the songs, like Venice Bitch, that goes on for 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
There's a lot more going on, and now I'm just a huge fan. I feel like, I had this moment seeing Nirvana, like, I'm so glad I'm alive while this band is playing, and I feel like I'm so glad I'm alive while Lana Del Rey is making records, and I'll be able to tell like my grandchildren, I bought that record when it came out, and they're like, what's a record, old fogey? But one of the things that about nostalgia is the past better than the present?
Yes.
We get a lot of nostalgia. Well, but the Make America Great Again people were kind of like, they want everything to be.
Well, that's why that works, because for everyone, we are a society that is so, we're not used to being in the present.
Yeah.
I mean, we take a picture and we look at it like, what's the best picture? Like, and we're living in the freaking past.
That's the nostalgia for like 5 minutes ago. We'll take a picture and Instagram it and then look at the picture instead of living in the moment that we're in. We're looking at the Instagram that we made of the picture 3 minutes ago and being like, oh yeah, those were the days.
So for an artist to bring you back and to talk about that, like, why do we do that so much? And she does it so well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of showing us, because she romanticizes LA as it is right now. And I feel like she's kind of saying, like, romanticize the fucking present a little bit, because you're going to romanticize it in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, take a look at it in a different way.
This is the thing, because that's exactly what it is that nostalgia over romanticizes the past, and it blocks out all the like shitty things that were going on in the 50s, like Jim Crow, and we just sort of have this selective memory. I mean, there's a great line from Keith Richards in his autobiography where he says memory is fiction, which is basically him saying, I made up some stuff in this book that probably didn't happen, or I probably didn't remember it right. So it's that sense of being out of time. And acknowledge, I mean, it's very postmodern, like, let's acknowledge that this is all a rip-off from the past, and then we can deal with being in the present.
Yeah.
Wow. This record is kind of mind-blowing on that level, because it takes you into the past and then reflects the present back to you.
It brings you back. It's like, it's kind of like a push and pull.
Yeah, I mean, it has like the song about California. It has kind of all these things you associate with sort of 70s music. A lot of Venice Beach references.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Norman Rockwell. I mean, we had tons of Norman Rockwell paintings in our house.
Why did she title it Norman fucking Rockwell?
Yeah.
Because Norman Rockwell, if you ever took a freaking art class, was all about Americana and about the 50s and like idealizing the American life and American living. And so I feel like she was kind of commenting on the whole Trump thing.
Oh, wow. Because, you know, those Norman Rockwell things were a little bit subversive. They were kind of making fun of it, because there was like some themes about racial equity in Norman Rockwell, the civil rights movement, things like that. So I think you're right. It's like this nostalgia we have of the past, but
I just remember whenever I looked at Norman Rockwell when I was in elementary school or I was in middle school, I always wanted to be white, because all those paintings were always of white people having the best time, and I was like, I want to do that, but
well, that's probably why my dad loved them so much.
Well, because it's just like the ideal American life, and I feel like that's why she called it Norman fucking Rockwell.
Yeah, instead of Norman Rockwell, it's Norman fucking Rockwell.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just love her, because it's everything she does. It's like, you know, I hate that you didn't like her because of how she looked, and then you came around because you saw, oh, she is a smart woman that, yeah, she embarrassed herself on SNL a long time ago, but I mean, there are plenty of men that can't sing and they still have a career, and nobody makes fun of them because they can't sing.
Yeah, there's a completely different standard for female artists.
Exactly. So the fact that you came around, you know, obviously I had a lot to do with that, but I feel like men need to take the time to say, yes, it's a good looking girl, but what else is she doing? And like, kind of, come on, like, be a better man and like give it a chance.
I am a better man. Or as Lana would say, I'm your man. That's her little Leonard Cohen reference on there.
I know.
That's my favorite part when she says that.
Anyway, if you're a little bit sexist, listen to Lana Del Rey.
And you'll be a little less sexist. I know I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I think your perspective. See, I've missed this. I've missed your perspective on this music, and me just listening to the things that she says. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Again, so this is our third installment of albums you need in your collection. If you don't have Lana Del Rey's 2019 album, Norman fucking Rockwell, you really need it in your collection. It sounds amazing on vinyl. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, a thumbs up. More importantly, we'd love to have you subscribe to our video. Next week, you know what we're gonna talk about next week? I mean, you might join me, but I'll be here in the Sweaty Vinyl Attic. We're gonna talk about maybe the greatest album of all time, which is Miles Davis' 1959 album, Kinda Blue. But we're going to talk about it differently. We're going to talk about it as a John Coltrane album, which people don't normally do. So be back next week. We're going to get a little jazzy next week and have that conversation. We listen to a lot of jazz around here. Gets us in the mood.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. You know, I like to say that this music matters, these records matter, and you matter. So let's talk about it.